the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. My name is Brian Wallace, and I am the MS Michigan Man 64. The MS Michigan Man 64 podcast is about chronic disease awareness. I have had multiple sclerosis for the last 27 years. It's an invisible chronic disease that I've been battling for half of my life. I want to share with you what it is like living with the chronic disease from my experiences and the experiences of other chronic disease warriors. We can fight to have a voice to those that want to listen. Together, we can motivate and educate. Hi, welcome back to the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast, where I am trying to spread awareness about what it is like living with chronic disease. I have been living with multiple sclerosis for the last 27 years. I talk about my journey with my MS, as well as the journey of other chronic disease warriors all over the world, just so that we have a better understanding of what it's like living with a chronic disease. Today, I am talking to an MSer from the state of Wisconsin. I met Justin online a couple weeks ago, and he reached out and he wanted to record about his journey with his MS. He got diagnosed with his MS in 2019. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Come on and let's talk about it. So please welcome to the podcast, Justin. How you doing today, Justin?
Doing great, Brian. How are you doing today?
I am doing all right, my friend. I'm doing all right. So Justin, you got your diagnosis in 2019. I know you're a young guy and you wanted to come on and talk about it, man. I appreciate you for coming on and wanting to share your journey. What was you going through in 2019 before your diagnosis? What kind of symptoms were you having that kind of caused the red flag that something wasn't right with your body and you went to the doctor to try to get it figured out?
I actually remember this like it was yesterday. I was at work one day and I was an electrician. I carried extension ladders. I was up and down ladders, working with wiring and, I had to use my hands a lot.
Yeah.
Very physical job. So I was carrying an extension ladder across the parking lot one day. I was working on a camera. That really doesn't matter, but I was carrying the extension ladder and I set it up. And just before I had gotten to where I had to set the ladder up, I noticed my left leg felt really weak. And when I was walking, my leg wouldn't bend the right way. Like when you're walking, just walking forward, you have to bend your knees. And my left leg, I kept swinging it because it wouldn't bend.
Okay.
And I had no clue what it was. I had no idea in the world. So I went to talk to my sister about it. And she was telling me my grandma used to have mini strokes in her sleep before she passed. And she would have similar symptoms. So, Mr. Google internet thing told me that's a very good possibility. So I thought maybe that might have been the problem. So I go to the doctor. They told me it might be MS, or it sounds like it's MS, but we need further testing. So then I had about a week and a half before I did my MRI and spinal tap. But in that week and a half, I should have been doing research because the doctor told me it sounds like this, but I didn't. I waited till the diagnosis. And then once the diagnosis, about a week and a half after that first doctor visit, I went downhill so fast.
Yeah.
I think it was about 6 months from the time of the doctor visit until I was on disability or applying for disability within 6 months. It's very rapid change.
Yeah, I know you were telling me that when we were talking the other day, and you're a young guy when this is going on too, and
Yeah,
I
I,
just yeah, go ahead.
I was 33.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're fine. And I know you're a young guy, and you're working a manual job, and that had to scare the hell out of you. I know that I was 27 when I went through mine, and I didn't know what the hell was going on with my body, and and I can't believe that you digressed as quick as you did. Within a 6 month period. You can't even work. I mean, I just can't even imagine what's going through your head at that age.
honestly thinking back, I didn't even know. I was so confused and flustered and just angry, and I didn't know who to be angry at. And I had all this misplaced anger that just turned into depression and isolation and here we are.
Yeah. And here we are. And we're going to talk about how you got there. But I mean, when you first got that diagnosis, and you started learning about this disease, I mean, how did you wrap your head around the diagnosis multiple sclerosis? Because I mean, back when I got diagnosed, 27, I didn't have any knowledge of it. So, I mean, you said you didn't. How did you wrap your head around it and like start to learn about what the disease that you just got diagnosed with?
A lot of Google, a lot of online stuff, which online research you kind of take with it. Take, you don't know how you take it, whether it's real or not. So then I started talking to people on, it started with Facebook. Um, this was years ago. I started talking to people on Facebook, but I didn't actually start my group until recently. But trying to wrap my head around the whole thing, it mostly was talking to people, other people who had the disease, and then my Google little research on my phone and tablet and whatnot, and a lot of crying, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of confusion, and just like I said, misplaced anger, not knowing what my future is even going to look like.
Right, right. How, as far as your support system when you went through your diagnosis, I mean, I didn't, you had family. Did they understand the diagnosis or were they just as blind going into this as you? And how did they learn about it, Justin?
Honestly, I think that my support system, as far as my family, and at the time when I was working, my boss at work, they all, I think, understood it more than I did, to be honest. There were in between. So when I first went to the doctor and that 6 month period from then till when I was done working, I was only going into work about 4 days a week. And the one day a week that I wouldn't go in, I wouldn't even call. I would just sleep until 10 o'clock because that's what my body would do.
Hmm.
I'd sleep right through my alarm a lot of times. And my boss was so understanding about the whole thing. He never once reprimanded me. He told me, it'd be nice if you called in.
Yeah.
But I got for our Christmas bonus that year, I got my $25 gift card. Um, he would show up on our job sites sometimes and take everybody to lunch. And most of the time when he would do that, it was always on a Friday. And it was always on a day when I was showing up at 10 or 11 o'clock. So I had only been on the job site most of the time for about an hour, and he'd show up, hey, let's all go to lunch, and he'd take me with, and they were very understanding.
Yeah.
Like I said, almost more, they knew more about than I did, I
Uh,
think.
how about your family, like your mom and dad and all your other family that you had around you?
So my biological dad, he travels after he retired, he got an RV and he travels the country. So him and I have a great relationship, but I just don't see him very much.
Hmm.
After I was diagnosed, I lived with my stepbrother, and he had bought a house, and I moved in to help him pay the mortgage and whatnot. And then I started needing more help, so I had to move in with my sister. And then she has a whole family to take care of. She has 4 kids of her own. I felt it was better moving back home with my own mom. Um, as a 40-year-old living at home with your parents, it's kind of difficult, but they are so understanding and supportive. My mom, and she cooks meals. She obviously makes dinner for herself and her husband, but
Yeah.
I she makes meals for everybody, and I eat with them. She does my laundry because I can't do laundry. She washes my dishes because I can't stand in front of the sink.
Yeah.
Um, and my stepdad went as far as building a handicapped bathroom with a walk-in shower and a seat bolted to the wall. I mean, they've been
Awesome.
so understanding. I have just one of the best support systems you can imagine.
That is just so awesome, Justin. Because I
Yeah.
hear stories that people don't have that support system, and I know how important that is for us. I mean, just for our mental health to know that we have people around us that just understand it. To understand it's not our fault. We're just trying our hardest, and it sounds like that's what you have. And amen. I'm glad that you have that, brother.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so grateful. Like I said, being 40 and living at home, me and my mother are best friends, but
Yeah, and
I'm a 40-year-old living at home,
y-
so it's hard for her not to treat me like a kid. And then
y-
there's a lot of infighting going on, but
well,
it's a great situation.
And I wanted to talk to you about that too. You're 40 years old, and that's part of this journey that I don't think people understand a whole lot. Is that you got a 40-year-old that wants to be independent. I mean, you want more than anything in the world to be independent, but you can't. And we got to suck up our pride sometimes and move back in with family, and that's a toll on our mental health because we don't want to be a burden to somebody that's already taken care of us one time through, and then we're
Yeah.
out doing the adult thing, and now we got to go back and live with them. I mean, that just beats us up mentally.
I think that was probably the hardest thing for me was that I had moved out. I was independent for, you know, I think it was almost 15 years.
Right.
By the time I was 33. So I had experienced normal human life, living on your own and supporting yourself and
Yeah.
being independent.
Yep.
And then having to throw all that in the trash one day and just move back home.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to deal with that.
It's it's a difficult thing. I mean, I had to go through it. I went through a divorce. I lost a house over it. My MS got worse. I had to move back with my mom for a while. I mean, it's embarrassing, and but you got to do what you got to do to survive with this disease. And it's just awesome that you have family that backs you up like that. And I'm glad you have that, Justin. It's a good thing.
Yeah, not a lot of people do. So I like say I'm very grateful.
Yeah. So let me ask you, like, you said you were working and you're on disability now, and it was 6 months later. And I know I was blown away when you told me your path with your disability. And I think a lot of people would love to hear that, how you got it done so quick. And I just love how you did it. You didn't do anything wrong. You just basically asked questions, a lot of questions. But just
Yeah.
talk to everybody, like, how you applied for your disability, you got denied, and you got it approved in 6 months.
hmm So, let's see. I was diagnosed in September of nine or August of 19, and I think it was by February of 2020 I had started to apply for disability because I really saw my decline going rather quickly. And I thought, like, I've always been the kind of person who's had a paycheck, I've lived paycheck to paycheck, I'm not gonna lie, but I've always had that income. And when I started to not be able to work and I noticed my body couldn't handle it anymore, I started to get really scared because I didn't know where my income was going to come from or where I was going to live, how I was going to eat,
Right.
any of that.
Right.
So that was when my support system really kicked in. So between February and I believe it was September, maybe August, it was still about 6 months from February, 6 or 8 months, 8 months. I don't know. Anyway, um, here we go. MS moment.
That's okay. That's all
I
right.
get
We're
my,
talking about
my
we're talking about your disability getting approved in 6 months.
Yes, yes. And I was just kind of I was trying to be as I'm not gonna lie, annoying as I could. I would call disability every couple days and on the days where I was off work and I had nothing else to do, I'd just set my phone down and I'd be on hold for an hour and a half sometimes.
Yeah.
And then when they pick up the phone, after a couple of weeks, they start saying, "Yes, Mr. Feeble." You could hear the annoyance in their voice.
Yeah.
Um, so I just kept doing that. And they denied me the first time, and when I reapplied, that's when I started being annoying, and it just came through, and I was so happy.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
You just kept following up. You kept following up, and I love that. I
Yeah,
mean, I love the fact that you got it approved so quick because I know that there's so many people that aren't in the same boat. I mean, I've heard a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years waiting. And I just think,
yeah, yeah,
I think it's a terrible system the way it is set up and how, we just have to jump through hoops to get something that we're paid into for so long
yeah.
working. And
Because I used to have a roommate who was actually on disability, and he was on disability because that his feet hurt, and he was one of those kind of grifter guys. I could definitely tell he was it's so hard to see people like that get disability and be okay with it,
mhm,
and then people like me or yourself or anyone else who has very serious illness.
yeah,
It usually, I mean, I was fortunate and I know that, but it usually takes you a couple of years.
yeah.
And that's just obnoxious.
It's terrible. It's frustrating. I mean, people's lives are being ruined because of a chronic disease, and they have no income, and they have kids to take care of, and they're
Yep.
single parents, and it's crazy the stories that I hear about disability, and it's not even just the United States; it's everywhere. Whether you're in Canada, UK, it doesn't matter. It just seems like when you become disabled, you become forgotten. It seems like.
Yeah, forgotten in a big way, and not just by the government disability, but it seems like by a lot of other people as well. Um,
Yeah,
you just become kind of a shadow of the person you used to be
right?
physically. Socially, I at least in my situation, I have definitely seen that I used to be one of the most social people. I couldn't miss get-togethers
Mhm.
or parties or from the time I was 20 until I was 30, my whole 20s was just nothing but go, 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 go.
Yeah. I know
And
I
I
know
look back at it, I just can't imagine having a life like that
no, neither. And I know that we talked about this a little bit before, Justin, and how how the circles tighten. You were that social person. I was that social person. I was playing in golf outings, playing 18 holes, and I was drinking beers with people, friends of mine. And then once my MS started getting worse, and I started stopped being able to do things like that, my circle started getting tighter and tighter and tighter because I couldn't do those things. So people just stop talking to me, and that's another thing that people just don't understand, that we go through this. We all go
Mhm.
through this.
And
It's like people disappear after your
yeah,
diagnosis because you're not the same person.
exactly. And that I did kind of want to point that out. I'm not trying to make it sound like other people are assholes and
Right,
just stopped calling you. I mean, it has a lot to do with the fact, like you said, that you just can't do the things you used to do anymore.
right.
And a lot of times they call you and you keep saying no, so then they just stop you.
Sure. Why? Yeah. Why,
And
why are we going to call him? I mean,
exactly.
he's probably not feeling good, so we're just not going to call him. And and
Right. So I don't think
yeah.
people aren't just trying to put us down, I think. And for the most part, they're just like, well, he's gonna say no anyway.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And but that's the isolation part of this disease, and it's difficult sometimes for us to do social things, and but we try to push outside that box, though. I know I try to do that. I talk a lot about here. I don't have a job anymore, so I do this podcasting thing. This occupies my mind. I also go up and spend time up at the lake, just sitting around by the water. I'll go out on the water fishing. I mean, that's to occupy
You're a
my
big
time.
fish.
You got to find tools to occupy your time because of the isolation with this disease. And I know you found
Yeah.
yours. And let's talk about what you do to occupy your time, because I love it, man. Okay, and you're somebody that has limited mobility, and you're still doing it. You're still fighting it.
Yeah. And that so I remember, gosh, must have been about 3 or 4 years ago now. I had spent most of my days just kind of watching Netflix and flipping through Facebook videos or TikTok or whatever it was. I thought to myself, I started gaining weight and I didn't like the person I was becoming. So I went online and I started doing a little looking like how does someone without any like limited mobility
Hmm.
exercise? Like what's the best way to do that? And I started seeing three-wheel bikes because my balance is so bad, but I can still use my legs. I just can't use them for running and walking and all that good stuff.
Right.
Um, so I found this three-wheel bike. And it was a bit pricey, but unbelievably worth it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I looked at it. I had to almost empty my bank account to buy this thing, but it was the best thing I ever bought. And I started riding for, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. And it turned into something where I ended up losing a total of 60 pounds in a month and a half.
That's so awesome, Justin, man. I
Yeah.
applaud you for that. And that's a hard thing for people with chronic disease to do. We don't have that ability to get that movement, and for you to drop 60 pounds and with MS, man, that's awesome, dude. Hats off to
Yeah. And it was just, I think this last week, I've been having a bad MS week and I got lazy and I didn't go out and ride my bike for almost a week. And I went back out just after we started talking today, or just before we started talking, I'm sorry.
you. Yeah,
Um, and I rode my bike for about 15 minutes and wow, was I tired.
yeah.
Ooh.
Your endurance, you
It
can
felt like
feel
the
it.
first
Yeah,
time I got, yeah, it felt like the first time I had gotten on my bike I mean, in over a week. It felt like I hadn't ridden my bike in a year.
yeah, yeah. And
So,
I know that just getting some kind of exercise is just so important for us, because we don't want our muscles to atrophy and shrivel up and all
mhm.
that. So I mean, just doing something, as little as as it might be to us, but just something is just so important.
Yeah, I have my step limit on my watch is set for I think 3,000 steps, and I have to hit that every day
Yeah.
because that's really not even that much for someone like me.
Right. Right.
Um, I know other people that may be a lot. And I understand that, but that's why I do it is just to make sure that even when I'm not thinking about being physical and doing things, I'm still gonna hit that limit because I always check my watch.
Yeah. I love it, man.
So it's just kind of
I
something I make sure.
I love the fact that you're relatively new in this disease, 2019, 6 years, and you got so much figured out for being a young MSer. I just love talking to you,
And,
dude. I mean, you just
and
you blow me away.
yeah, I think my support system has a lot to do with that.
Yeah,
I'm just in such a good place physically that I'm able to concentrate on myself a little more
yeah.
rather than my living situation or what am I gonna do about this or
Right, right. So let me talk to you about how we met. We met on TikTok, and you messaged me and you wanted me to hear your story. And then after I started talking to you, I found out that you even got a Facebook page, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that and let you talk about how you started it and where it's at now, Justin.
Yeah. So the reason I actually contacted you is because I actually recently had an interview with the Wisconsin Department of Health. And they started going on their Facebook page and they started looking at people who are I forget what they're doing. It was just a story about disabled people and how they stay socially relevant in the world still.
Mm-hmm.
And they noticed that I had started a Facebook page and it had gotten a lot of traction really quickly. I think in about 6 months, I got up to close to 1,500 members.
Awesome.
It grew rather fast. I've got a couple of people in the group that I chat with that are making videos and posting videos. And that's just kind of why I started the Facebook page. It's called Weebles May Wobble, but we don't fall down.
Love
Um,
it. Love it. I will definitely
I
put
s- what-
I'll definitely put that in the description for anybody that wants to follow his Facebook page. I'll put that in the description for everybody.
yeah, thanks. And I'm just trying to get the word out as much as possible. And I had seen that you do a podcast, and I had kind of looked some of that stuff up, and I thought that's a great way to get the word out about my group is to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, and that's a segue into a great topic that I think is very important for us with chronic disease. And I know that you have a big passion for is just the community that we found, whether it be with
Yeah,
TikTok or whether it be with Facebook. I mean, just finding that support system is so important because most of us don't live with people that have this disease. I mean, some people are married to other MSers, and I've recorded with them, but most people are with atypical people, and they can't talk to people that really understand this disease. And finding people that can relate to what you're going through is just so important.
yeah, and that uh, when I started the group, I wanted people to, and I kind of told everyone this in the group. I wanted to see people post about yeah, about obviously it's an MS group, but people with MS still live lives. They still have problems. They still have, normal issues that come up. And I wanted to kind of give people a place to come and talk about those things
Hmm.
and share that with other people because yeah, MS sucks and we all have a lot going on, but there's not a lot of places you can go and just if you have MS, talk to other MSers about just things in your life and what may be happening and all. It's just a platform to go and not bitch, but just to go and talk to other people about your life and you can get some value out of that.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. And I just think that that is so important. When the newer you are in this disease, and this is a mistake that I made, but I mean, social media wasn't around when I first got diagnosed. But I didn't even realize that there was the community out there that there is with, whether it be Facebook or on TikTok, just of people that can relate to you. And I just think that that is so important because I never had anybody to talk to with that had this disease for 15, probably 16 years of my diagnosis. And, once I
Mm.
finally found somebody that actually had this disease, a physical person, I mean, it was awesome talking to somebody that knew what you were talking about, the symptoms that you were talking about. And then fast forward to 2024 when I started on TikTok and I found that community and Facebook, and I found communities on Facebook. I mean, it just blows me away that, you can connect with these people and you can relate to what's going on in your life, and you can compare notes on how the doctors, the information they gave you. And it's just an awesome, awesome tool, social media for people with chronic disease.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. It really is. I had no idea until I started posting just random videos, just for my friends on Facebook and things like that. And then I found all these Facebook groups, so I started posting my videos there, and it just started gaining traction. Now I'm starting to get a lot of followers, and people are really interested in my story. I mean, it gives me, like you said earlier, passion. It gives me a passion to do something.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel good about myself, knowing that I'm giving other people value just by telling my story.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, people they message me all the time. Just they appreciate me being honest about my MS and about my journey, and I just think that that's important for all of us to come together because I'm kind of, I'm an older guy, and I was kind of the I always had the mentality I don't want to talk about my disease, and I don't think that that's right because society, that's why society treats us like we do, like they do, is because we don't talk about it. I think the more that we talk about it, the more we make it more mainstream to have a chronic disease and to understand it and not to be ignorant about it. I just think it's a value, and the internet is a huge, huge tool for that.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much conversation can be such a valuable thing until I started doing my Facebook videos and getting feedback from other people and chatting with other people, watching other people's videos. Really just kind of just conversation. Really opened up my eyes and
Yeah,
kind of just made me see things differently and kind of helped with that.
yeah. So here, I got one more question for you, Justin. And I know we talked about this, and I was going back and forth, but I really do want to talk about it because I think it is important, and that's relationships, especially with somebody that was diagnosed as young as you, and you were a single guy, and you didn't even have a girlfriend. I mean, I just want to talk about relationships and having MS.
Yeah. So when I was younger, into my 20s up to my 30s, I was always I don't want to, you know, toot my own horn. I was a decent looking guy. I wasn't super ripped or anything crazy, but I was a very social person and a very socially accepted person, I suppose, if you want to say that. Um, but then once I was diagnosed, yeah, I wasn't in a relationship at the time, and trying to find a relationship while you have this disease is just insane because as much as people don't want to admit it, and you won't get anyone who's going to admit something like this, but they, someone meets you and then they immediately like, what does this person have to offer in a sense? I mean, I know I have a lot like emotionally to offer, but physically, I just can't do a lot of things. And I think that plays a big factor in a relationship setting,
Yeah.
whether people want to admit it or not.
Yeah. I agree. And that's the sad part about this disease is that, even if you're in a relationship and you get diagnosed with it, you got people bailing on it because they're afraid of it themselves, and they run from it. They run from their partner. And then when you are somebody that has this disease already, I mean, it's really, really hard to meet somebody that even understands or wants to try to understand and have a relationship with. It's a hard thing.
Yeah, I've been through it a few times since I've been diagnosed. I've had a couple situations, and I'm not going to use names or anything crazy on, but there's been a few situations where I've met a person, I've gotten to know them, I've even spent a few days with them, and then they just go dark. Uh,
Yeah,
Nothing.
right.
And it's a really shitty realization to know that. I mean, why is this person ghosting you other than the fact that you have this crippling disease?
Yeah, and
You know,
they're afraid of it, and I understand why. They, I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, when you have a
yeah,
partner, or a family member that has this disease, and it takes them and it hits them, and they're in a wheelchair and they need a lot of assistance. that is a big that's a big factor in a lot of people's reasoning for bailing on people. And I mean, but it's a fact of this disease. It happens all the time.
Yeah, and like I say, people, I know people don't want to admit it, but it as far as my opinion anyway, that I would say that plays a giant factor in it because that's just what it seems. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
That's what I've experienced, and like I say, I understand it. I wish people would talk about it more.
Right. Yeah.
Um, like instead of ghosting me, say, these are my concerns. This is, if we were to be in a, it's called conversation.
Yeah. Right.
Um, and that's kind of the harsh realization I've come to is that I have not found someone yet that would have that conversation. So,
Yeah.
um, that's kind of where I'm sitting. And like I say, it's been almost 7 years now since I've been diagnosed, and yeah, it's a pretty lonely journey, but
Yeah.
it's a sad realization that I've gotten used to it.
Yeah. The sad thing is that a lot of us have to get used to that, and it
Yeah.
is. It's just a sad thing, Justin. But I really appreciate you talking about that. I know it's not an easy thing to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of things about this disease that are hard and difficult conversations, but I just really appreciate you being honest and wanting to come on and talk about your story. And if there was anything else that you wanted to tell anybody that is in like a similar situation as you, what would your message be to them just to keep on fighting every day, Justin?
Have conversations with people. Social media is a very powerful tool. You can talk to people from all over the world with many different situations and their diseases. I mean, this disease is different in everybody. It's a very conversation, period. It's just it's much more useful than people think, I
Yeah,
think. Uh,
I love it.
so I
I say it all the time, Justin. I mean, the more that we talk about this disease, the more people will understand it. And I don't think people are stupid. I don't call people stupid. I say they're ignorant, because
yep,
I think anybody can learn if they want to, but you have to want to. And, hopefully us talking about it and coming together and we just we keep on talking about our journeys. Hopefully people will just start listening to us and understanding it.
yeah, we can hope. All we have to do is keep having conversations.
Yep.
I can't stress enough how important those are. Oh, and also, go join my group. Weebles may wobble, but we don't fall down. It's a Facebook group, and we can chat about anything you want. Yeah, that's the reason I started it.
I love it. I love it. Yep. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. I will have that in the description for you, Justin. I really
Thank
want to
you.
I want to thank you for coming on and joining me and sharing your journey with me. If you want
Thank
to,
you for that.
oh, not a problem, man. Anytime you want to come on and talk about your journey, just to help explain it a little bit more, if you got another topic you want to bring up and talk about it, and we can put together an episode, you are more than welcome. You have my number. You know how to get a hold of me, buddy.
Awesome. Yeah, because I'm thinking about starting a little MS kind of bicep group. It's at the very beginning stages. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it yet,
Yep.
but I was offered a possible grant from the Wisconsin Department of Health to start some kind of little community group like that.
Awesome.
And there may as that progresses, I may get in touch with you to let you know more about that.
Awesome, man. I love it. I love it. Yeah, and anytime, Justin, you are invited on. If you want to follow me on TikTok, you can follow me at MS Michigan Man 64. You can find me on Instagram, MS Michigan Man 64, and you can find me on Facebook, Brian Wallace out of Brunswick, Ohio. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Till the next episode, MS Michigan Man 64. I am out.